Welcome to Last Weekly, where we talk, laugh, and sometimes bitch about the highs and lows of the past week, including: is Will Smith and his wife Jada's marriage open to interpretation? Why is one of Earth's mightiest heroes saying Marvel's so white? Are middle-aged turtles for today's ninja-curious teens? Should AMC's Mad Men wash off its blackface? Why have Jason Momoa's smoking hot abs turned ice cold? And are Apple and YouTube teaming up to stab your wallet in the back? And much more. I'm Kevin Williams, and I'll be recapping this week with my incredible co-host, Anthony Tone Show Nunez.
Hey, Kevin. Happy 4th of July.
Thereabouts. All right. All right, so yeah, it's officially summer. So how are you feeling? Is it hot enough for you?
It is 92 degrees, Kevin, so it is burning hot in New York City. By the time they listen to this, 4th of July have gone by. So happy 4th of July from the Last Weekly crew.
Yeah, happy Independence Day-ish. Okay. All right, so let's get...
Wow, you're in a good mood today, Kevin.
I'm in a great mood because we have a lot of news to cover. So let's get to it. So let's talk about, first up, we're going to talk about...
Cyborg blasting Josh Whedon. Go ahead, Kevin.
Okay, fine. Justice League Cyborg star Ray Fisher spoke out against Justice League's fill-in director Josh Whedon this week, saying Josh Whedon's on-set treatment of the cast and crew of Justice League was gross, abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable. Fisher shared no specific details other than what was in that tweet, but the tweet was accompanied with a video of him from the 2017 Comic-Con in which he said, Josh is a great guy, and Zach picked a good person to come in and finish up for him. So Fisher tweeted, I'd like to take a moment and forcefully retract every bit of this statement. The funny thing about the video, I don't know if you've seen the video where he says that, but the look on Jason Momoa's face as he's sitting next to him, as he's saying how great Josh Whedon is like, I don't know if you've ever seen somebody like a video where somebody has kidnapped somebody and they have a video to prove they're alive and the kidnapped victim is like looking like, That is what Jason Momoa's face looks like. He's just like, he has no comment, he's just going like, I don't know. And so it's just kind of funny now that this is, that Fisher has come forward and shared what he really thought of Josh Whedon. So what do you think of this whole story?
It's very interesting that the timing of all this, because it's been announced that HBO is going to launch the Snyder Cut on HBO Max. So you know that definitely Snyder's coming back as a director. Josh Whedon was there, like he said, to quote, clean up. So if now that the fact that Snyder's going to be returning, and there's a possibility that if this whole Snyder Cut business turns out well, there might be multiple projects that are going to spin off of this. And I'm assuming Zack Snyder's going to be put in charge of this since it is the Snyderverse. So I think Ray Fisher, it's very calculated that he chose to do this now, because let's say Josh Whedon was going to be moving forward overseeing the DCU, would he still have said this? So, and I also wonder, like, what happened? Like, he just shot this out of nowhere. It was like a random shot in the dark. Like, what do you think motivated him, Kev?
I have no idea, but one other thing I want to add that he said was, he goes, I don't praise Chris Trejo and Zack Snyder for simply putting me in Justice League. I praise them for empowering me, a black man with no film credits to his name, he's a stage actor, with a seat at the creative table and input on the framing of the stones before there was even a script. So he felt like he really had a hand in this whole thing. And for those of you who don't know or remember, Zack Snyder was originally directing Justice League, and then he had a family emergency. So he had to leave, and then Josh Whedon was put in charge of the project. They actually had the actors come back and do reshoots because the studio was not happy with the super dark, gritty tone for Zack Snyder's vision of what Justice League would be like. They were supposed to be what they were looking for was a DC version of Marvel's Avengers. You know, the biggest, their biggest, coolest supers: Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg, altogether, and they were hoping to have that kind of success. Unfortunately, they did not. The total gross for the movie that dropped in 2017 was $658 million. So that's a lot of money for me personally, but not enough for the studio that produced that film.
That's Ant-Man money. Marvel calls that Ant-Man money.
Yeah, and so they were not happy. So I agree with you that the only reason to come out now would be because of Zack Snyder. And I would love to hear other people join in. If Josh Whedon is that bad, it's time for other actors to come forward and basically say, I agree, this is what happened. Normally, like when it comes to the Me Too kind of thing, it takes one or two people to come out and be brave and say that this wasn't right. And then once they come out, it makes other people feel like it's safe for them to come forward. So, and again, watch the original video of Comic-Con, and look at Jason Momoa and tell me that he is not being held hostage. Or I wondered if Josh Whedon had like Lisa Bonet right off camera with a gun to her head and like, don't say nothing, don't say nothing, because that's how he looks. It's like, don't hurt her, don't hurt her. It's like, what is happening?
He's about to mess up Aquaman money. That's what he's about to do.
All right, so let's talk about another actor of color who said some things that might be affecting his career in a negative way. Black actors are taking chances this week. So let's talk about Anthony Mackie. He called out Marvel for their lack of diversity. So this is what he said this week in an interview. He goes, I've done 7 Marvel movies now. Every producer, every director, every stunt person, costume designer, every PA, every single person has been white. And so referring to 2018's Black Panther, Mackie said, the diversity behind the camera highlighted the problem. He said, when you do Black Panther, you have a black director, a black producer, a black costume designer, black stunt choreographer, and that's more racist than anything else. Because if you only can hire black people for black movies, are you saying they're not good enough when you're doing a movie with a mostly white cast? And I would agree. That's exactly what that says. If you can find a black director and a black stunt choreographer for Black Panther, why isn't none of these people, the costume designer, everybody, none of these people can be employed in any of the other 8,000 other Marvel movies?
Because then you wonder, were these people employed because finally in Black Panther you had a black director and you also had more black people behind the camera making the choices, making the hiring choices, or is this the case? Is this the case then also for the other movies, since you have mostly white directors, mostly male directors on the other movies, with a couple of exceptions, like Captain Marvel? Are they also making hiring choices, which always? So some people might say, Kevin, this is just basically a tribalism that white people tend to know other white people and they tend to hire white people, and if you put more,
but the tribalism also goes with male. So I guess if you're a male director, you only know other males. Or a male producer, you only know other males, because you're right. The idea is like, why is it the same thing? Now, again, I love Greta Gerwig and I loved Wonder Woman, but why wasn't she asked to direct Man of Steel? Why couldn't the woman who directed Captain Marvel also direct Iron Man 66? So it just feels weird that we can only pull in a woman when the central character is a woman. We can only have a director of color when it is the central character. The main character is a person of color. So, I mean, sadly, that's a step forward, because not too far in the past, you would have the main character being a woman, still have a male director. You would have the main character being a person of color, and the director would still be white. So I guess it's a little bit of a step forward, but like, let's take that next step and have, Avengers Part 16 be directed by a woman of color. In fact, is there a Native American woman that can direct it? I'd love to see it. So yeah, let's make that happen. Why does it have to be kind of tied to the ethnicity or sex of the main character for there to be any kind of diversity behind the scenes? Like he was saying, not a stunt person, not a writer, not a PA,
makeup artist,
not even nobody. Oh, everybody is white. You couldn't find like one person who's brown who knows how to hold a makeup brush. I mean, seriously.
It's a problem.
All right, so speaking of black people saying something that could endanger their career, we've got to move forward with somebody who's saying insanely stupid stuff that could affect their career. Those other two guys were actually saying stuff that needed to be said. This, I think, is definitely not in that same vein. So let's talk a little bit about...
Are we talking about John Boyega?
Well, he's another person who's recently said some stuff. But what I loved about when he came forward, a lot of directors came forward to say, like, we've got you. And not just directors of color. That was amazing. A lot of people came forward and said, like, oh, you think that you may be in danger in the Star Wars universe because you're saying some truths about, systemic racism. We have you. And then even Star Wars, their official Twitter page actually came up and said that they support him. So I'll believe it when I see the next Star Wars movie and see how small his character is in the poster. If he's all teeny tiny, I'll be like, yeah, we got you.
We got you already.
They might do the same thing they did to him they did to Rose. So yeah. All right, so let's talk about on Twitter recently what was going on with Terry Crews. Do you happen to have his most recent tweet by any chance?
I do. Terry Crews tweeted out on June 30th, "If you are a child of God, you are my brother and sister. I have family of every race, creed, and ideology. We must ensure that hashtag Black Lives Matter doesn't morph into hashtag Black Lives Better."
Okay. All right, so this isn't the first time he said stuff like this. He had another tweet that a lot of people had a problem with earlier this summer, actually, where he said, defeating white supremacy without white people creates black supremacy. Equality is the truth. Okay, so let's talk about these two statements and why I've canceled him. I mean, why people talk about I personally, why some people have an issue with him. I can't even hide. Oh, he's so canceled.
He's like, I canceled it.
He's so canceled.
Wow, Kevin, tell us how you feel.
Because, all right, now, some might say what he's saying is technically true, but no one was saying that. That's like, basically, it's the equivalent to me saying, you know what? It's great if nuns want to take care of orphans, but don't stab them in the face. Wait, well, yes, that's true. They shouldn't stab orphans in the face, but was there any stabbing in the face of orphans? No. So why are you bringing this up? So this whole idea doesn't morph into Black Lives Better. Who was saying Black Lives Better? No one was saying that. Basically, all he seems to do, if he didn't already exist, Fox News would have created Terry Crews in a lab, because he gives all these people talking points so they can basically say when people are out there marching to not be killed by the police or not have a knee to their neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds until they die on television, then they can, but Terry Crews said, we shouldn't let this turn into Black Lives Better. It's just, we're not even close to getting better. And to me, like, this whole idea of when he coined this phrase, which no one ever had uttered before, black supremacy, speaks to, what the hell, does he even understand the concept of what white supremacy is and where that came from and what that has meant through history and what that meant during the Civil War and what that's meant to the subjugation of people of color? So to even put that out there is just inane. And also, Terry Crews, if you happen to listen to the show, I'm sure you're a fan of the show. Well, you were until today, but probably unsubscribing as I speak. But when Fox News personalities and people who have "Don't Tread on Me" flags as their Twitter avatar are retweeting you, you've done something horribly wrong.
Kevin, I was just so shocked when I first saw him trending, so I didn't know why he was trending. So of course I went and looked it up, and when I read the tweet, I thought I misread it first. Like I didn't think I read what he said. And when he said we must ensure that Black Lives Matter does not morph into Black Lives Better, I was like, what the? Did like all of Terry Crews' white, like famous, wealthy friends call him and say, Terry, you need to say something because we think it's getting out of hand. So Terry Crews said this. Like, I don't know where this comes from. No one's ever ever insinuated that Black Lives Matter more. Like, I've seen so many people on social media trying to translate this to people who obviously do not want to understand that Black Lives Matter does not mean more, it just means matter. And here is Terry Crews going above that, saying that Black lives should not turn to Black Lives Better. It's just ridiculous. I really don't know what he's thinking. When he got into that whole controversy before, what he said about the Black supremacy, I was like, what? This is like whataboutism. This is fringe thoughts that go out there, and Fox News and other people who are the viewership of Fox News, then they latch onto these things and use it in arguments to counterpoint like valid things. So this is just ridiculous. I really don't. I actually, Terry Crews, if you're listening, I do enjoy you in TV shows and in movies, but I can't co-sign none of this. Like, I don't know where this is coming from. I know Kevin canceled you. You still might have a chance if you come back and just like pull this back, but I don't know. Can't co-sign it.
He has zero chance because this is, I'm sorry. I'm taking the 2 strikes policy. He can't even get a 3rd strike. Honestly, when I saw he was trending on Twitter, I'm thinking, the first thing I thought was like, oh my God, what crazy, stupid crap is Fox News going to be quoting tonight? And I was absolutely right before I knew that he had said something like that, because that just seems to be in him. And the funny thing is, he had so many points because he came forward as a part of the Me Too movement.
Correct,
because he had been groped by a very powerful agent in Hollywood, and people wanted him to not talk about it and make it go away, and he didn't. And I gave him all kinds of credit for that. But I was reading his comments about the blowback he's gotten from these statements, and he's going into this crap about the idea that because he's a man of color, he doesn't have to think one way. And so it's like, nobody says you have to think one way, but the idea that when you side with the oppressor, then yes, the oppressed are going to have a problem with what you're doing, what you're saying. Myself as a gay man, when there were people that were fighting to try and keep marriage equality illegal and not allow same-sex couples to get married, if there was somebody who was a gay celebrity going like, you know what, they have some great points about basically discriminating against us. Yeah, I'm going to come out hard against you because you're a friggin' idiot and you're helping the oppressor oppress. And the exact same thing is true of Terry Crews. The exact same thing is true because, again, he's saying something that no one was saying. He's absolutely giving them a talking point based on absolutely nothing. So I heard somebody else say, equate it with the idea of saying, like, Girl Scouts can sell cookies to raise money, but they also should not be selling crack. I'm like, what? But they're not selling crack. Why are you saying this? So he's saying stuff that is technically true. It should not morph into Black Lives Better. But one thing I need to say, I think I said it on the show before, but I guess it needs to be said again, because his inane statement, especially, it's super inane. It's an inane statement, period. But it's even more inane coming from a man of color. This morphing into Black Lives Better. For the people that still, after George Floyd and everything, they're still idiots. And I'm not going to even hold back. Idiots. I stand by that statement. Or willful idiots that are saying, oh, but all lives matter. Why is it Black lives? This is why everything in our society, in the history of this country, says that Black lives don't matter. When Black people are unarmed, are killed by the police with either no charges against them, and on the few instances where there are charges, juries let the police go. So basically, they have a kill people of color free card. All you have to do is say that I was afraid, they were reaching for my gun. Even though we have video showing no one was reaching for anything, you get to kill them as if they don't matter. And so that's what the response, that rallying cry is: Black Lives Matter, because everything we have seen through the history of this country says that we do not. That's why that's a thing. Okay, so I was hoping that we could get through one show without talking about police brutality, but apparently not. So
can't happen, Kevin.
We can't help it. So let's move on to something that's lighter in tone, just a little bit. All right, so let's talk about Beavis and Butthead coming to Comedy Central. So, Viacom CBS-owned cable network is reviving Beavis and Butthead. The series creator, Mike Judge, is returning to relaunch and reimagine the franchise, and it was a huge deal, and there's also going to be apparently some specials. And also, it's been approved already for 2 seasons, so that's how much faith Comedy Central has in it. And so, Beavis and Butthead will enter a whole new Gen Z world with meta themes that are said to be relatable to the old fans as well as the new. So, what do you think? Are you remotely excited about the reimagining of Beavis and Butthead?
I am, as a Generation Xer. I think this is something that a lot of Generation Xers could definitely gravitate towards. But then I read that he's saying this is actually not meant for Generation X. So it's a very ingenious move, actually, if you think about it, Kevin. They're taking something that was very essential to growing up as a Generation Xer and MTV and his whole culture that we grew up in the 90s. And they're saying, hey, everybody who's interested in this, come check this out on Comedy Central. By the way, also bring your kids who are Generation Z is mostly the kids of Generation X. So it's like having your cake and eating it too. So I don't know how you can take the concept of Beavis and Butthead, which I think are like children of the 90s, like essential, like they're essentials of the 90s. How are you going to apply that to Gen Z? So I'm curious. I'm definitely going to watch probably the first episode to see if this is even something that can work out. I'm not sure if you remember, but MTV brought them back for a couple of episodes before in like the early 2000s, and then it was canceled. So I'm looking forward to seeing this, to see what happens. What about you?
Well, one of the meta things that Beavis and Butthead did before YouTube is, remember how there would be parts of the show, or sometimes whole shows, were Beavis and Butthead sitting in front of the TV watching music videos and commenting on them. And so they were doing commentary on stuff. So to basically have Beavis and Butthead sitting on the couch in 2020, 2021, I guess, will they be looking at a TV or we're looking at a laptop, commenting on Ariana Grande's newest video, Lady Gaga or whatever, Megan Thee Stallion. So I'm sure they'll have lots to say about her. So anyway, that could absolutely be interesting. But again, they're pushing this as it's supposed to be relatable to its original generation, Gen X, as well as Gen Z. And speaking of that, only a few days before this, they announced that there's going to be another old MTV favorite is coming back in a new version, is a spinoff of the Daria show, which is also a spinoff of Beavis and Butthead, called Jody. And I don't know if you remember the character, but she also went to Lanford High, the fictional high school. I'm sorry, not Lanford, Lawndale. Lawndale High. So Jody picks up with her character, now voiced by Tracy Ellis Ross. She's not in high school anymore. She's graduated from college. So not even the college. This is the post-college years. She's graduated from college and she's entering the workforce. And so the series hopes to explore the trials and tribulations of a first job for a new generation, and will satirize workplace culture, Gen Z struggles. Even saying that was hard to get those Gen Z struggles. So, they have to wear a mask now, so they are struggling in a new way. But anyway, Gen Z struggles, the artifice of social media, while also featuring themes of empowerment along gender and racial lines, exploration of privilege, and the personal and professional issues young Black women face today. So that's a lot on that plate.
What's crazy, Kevin, is that, like you said, this is a spin-off of a spin-off. So Daria spinned off of Beavis and Butthead, and Jody is spinning off of Daria. And everything you just mentioned, all those themes are like kind of like the anti Beavis and Butthead, if you think about it. That's really interesting.
Well, that's what Daria was, kind of an anti Beavis and Butthead, because remember, her character came from the original Beavis and Butthead, and with her show, Beavis and Butthead, remember, I guess the idea was she moved to a new town, and from where she lived before, and she was way better animated when she moved to the new town, and so it was a completely different kind of view, and it was female centered and focused, because the two lead characters, it was Daria and her best friend, and how they kind of looked down at the rest of the world. But I'm wondering, I heard there was a talk about bringing Daria back. So if they do bring Daria back, will she also be reimagined? Of course she'd be reimagined for today, but will she no longer be a teen as well? Because it'll be weird to have Jody being older and then have Daria still be in high school. So I just like, are we going to see Daria and her bestie kind of reuniting after college or moving to the same city or something? So all these reimaginings is going to be kind of interesting to see what different timelines they all exist on. Now let's talk about another reimagining or resurrection is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Seth Rogen of all people is producing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle reimagining for the big screen. It's going to be a CG animated feature film. And if, like me, you were thinking like, what? Seth, is there going to be pot in this? Why? But but he's no stranger to producing. He brought Preacher as well as The Boys to the small screen. So now he's bringing something to the big screen as a big screen. Screen. I can't say that. As you know, what I've been smoking pot. Apparently, I've been getting high on Seth Rogen's supply. Anyway, he brought those to the small screen, and now he's bringing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to the big screen. So, what do you think, Tone?
I was reading that because I was curious who's going to be writing this, and it's Brendan O'Brien. His credits include Neighbors, which was Seth Rogen, also Neighbors 2. And Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates. So that's who's writing this, and they have the director of Gravity Falls. If anybody's into animation,
oh my God, you don't even know
Jeff Rowe.
How much I love Gravity Falls.
You serious? I didn't know that.
Oh my God, my avatar on Twitter is from Gravity Falls. The gnome, the barfing gnome, that is from Gravity Falls.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I never even noticed that. So
yeah, I'm a Gravity Falls stan.
Look at that, Kevin. So this is definitely your demographic.
It is up my alley. So honestly, I had no love for the Ninja Turtles before, but now that I know that somebody behind Gravity Falls is, I'm gonna have to check it out.
Even the '90s, Kevin. You weren't a fan of the original '90s series?
I mean, they like pizza and and they're teens and
okay,
and they're named after artists and so. Yeah.
So
one thing I'm gonna say, like, I love how they look so similar that they basically they have different color headbands or masks, so that's how you can tell which one is which, and just like.
So something that you should be excited about, Kevin, was the fact that because obviously you don't sound excited about this. Let's talk about the fact that Vanilla Ice, who's synonymous with the soundtrack for the second Ninja Turtles, with the song "Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go," he was actually going to throw a concert in Austin, Texas, this week. And it's a state, Austin, Texas has over 8,000 coronavirus cases this past week, which is a record for them. And he was actually going to have a concert which would have availability for 2,500 seats. And so everybody obviously on social media was in distress about this, and they were tweeting about this. How are you going to have a concert in Texas with so many coronavirus cases? Well, he came out and I guess he listened to his better angels and said that he will be postponing the concert to a better day, and that he was thinking about the health and safety of everyone. So he canceled the concert. But a lot of people are wondering, Kevin, like, what was he going to do, and how far would this have gone? Like, would 2,500 people would actually be allowed to cram together for a concert in Texas?
Well, first of all, when Vanilla Ice is the headliner, I don't think you have to worry about 2,000 plus people showing up.
Wow.
So I believe the real reason, because the whole idea is that supposedly, because if you read the comments, he was being got pushed back immediately on social media about this is a bad idea, and he was all like, no, I'm doing it, and you can't stop me, and blah blah blah, being all badass, and then all of a sudden just like, you know what, I'm not gonna do it now, and just like, I'm listening to my fans. It's like, no, you listen to your fans, and they spoke to you by not buying tickets. That's what you were listening to. The fact that you sold 73 tickets. So that's the real thing. That's what really went down, if you ask me, is the fact that there wasn't enough interest to even generate this thing. And what I need somebody to explain to me is, what the hell was that set list? What did it look like? Because as far as I can tell, there would be 3 songs on it. Ice Ice Baby, Play That Funky Music, White Boy, and until you reminded me, Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go. And so even if he plays the dance remix versions and they're each like 6 minutes long, that's like what, an 18 18-minute concert. So I don't understand. What? I don't.
To minimize the risk of coronavirus, Kevin.
Oh my! Just like it'll be us, it'll be you, me, and like 8 other people. We'll stand 6 feet apart from each other. We'll jam for those 18 minutes, and then call a cab or Uber and get the hell out.
Wow. He should have taken his cues, Kevin, from the San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh my God. Okay, yeah. So Comic-Con initially was canceled, but it's been resurrected virtual style. So they're going to be doing a bunch of virtual panel events, and some of the different events that have already been announced include Bill and Ted Face the Music, The Walking Dead, and Fear the Walking Dead. So the cast, the people behind it, everybody getting together to talk about the show and what's coming up for the next seasons. The Simpsons, Bob's Burgers, Winona Earp, and a conversation with Nathan Fillion. And for those of you who know who he is, he's currently the Rookie on ABC, but he's also known for being the star of Castle, the title character, and for hardcore Comic-Con type people, Firefly. So even more panels are planned. There have not been set dates for all the panels I just mentioned, but more are coming and things are being finalized as we record this. So, Tone, this is what I need to ask you. If you could actually chair one of these virtual panels, what would you want to chair a panel of? What upcoming movie or TV show or a movie or TV show from the past would you want to chair a panel on and have the people behind it, in front and behind the camera talk about?
Well, that's a very easy one, Kevin. Come on. I'll definitely have an MCU panel, and I would love to have Herschel Mashal Ali as the new Blade and give us a little bit of a treat what's going to happen in the movie. I know a lot of people are looking forward to that, so I would love to have an MCU panel. It's actually taking place, Kevin, July 22nd, July 26th, so they're actually keeping the actual physical dates of Comic-Con, but it's all going to be virtual at home. So I thought that was pretty cool that they're going to keep it the same week. What show would you want to host if you had your own panel at Comic-Con?
Well, first of all, I can't wait for your MCU panel, and I can't wait for Falcon, because I have questions for him. I want to hear more about this. So about Marvel being so white and what his thoughts are on and I'm sure, and the new Blade coming to the MCU. I'm sure there's going to be a black director, black costume designer. So I want to hear all about that. Okay, for me, this is an absolute no-brainer. So I don't know if you remember this or other people remember this, but I remember it, and I still have a lot of bitterness and rage about it. But remember when Game of Thrones ended? David Benioff and D.B. Weiss were scheduled to do a panel at Comic-Con July 18th, 2019. Yeah. They were supposed to basically be there with the cast to do a curtain call and talk about the final season of the show. But then when people were going to show up with torches and get a rope, then they're all like, yeah, no, we have other stuff we got to do. I got a lint trap, my dryer got to clean out, so I can't come. So they ducked out. I want them to be forced at gunpoint to answer questions, and I have lots. So I would, if I have anybody, I'd want to have the creators of Game of Thrones, and I have questions about every character, about people all of a sudden going insane, killing innocent people with their fiery dragons, how they did Daenerys wrong, they did her dirty. Yeah. So
all for Star Wars pictures that aren't even going to be made anymore.
They aren't even happening. And they ducked out on that too. They basically, again, their dryers are full of lint. They were like, we were gonna do it, but we want to spend more time with our families and working on our dryers. And so, yeah.
Wow.
And
so that would be a really good panel, Kevin.
Oh my God, it would be so good. So speaking of movies, let's talk about something that Walmart is doing in conjunction with Sundance, which is not Sundance. They're doing it in conjunction with Tribeca Film Festival, Robert De Niro, that whole thing. They're actually going to be converting 160 Walmart parking lots into drive-in movie theaters, so we can have social distancing movie nights. That actually seems like a really good idea. What do you think?
I think this is pretty cool, actually. And when I read that, they're actually, right now, they haven't announced if you're going to have to pay. If anything, they're just going to sell concessions, just like regular movie theaters. So I think it'd be really cool to pull up into a Walmart and watch a movie, and you only have to pay for popcorn or a soda. I'm just curious, though, Kevin, being that it is people associated with Tribeca Film Festival, is it going to be like indie films, or like, I couldn't find if they were going to show like newer movies, or like what's going to be played?
Yeah, that's one thing. That's one thing that has yet to be announced. Exactly what kind of things are going to play. The only kind of thing that there seem to be clear on is that the events will run through October and encompass over 300 showings. So what's going to be shown? Nobody has any idea. So one thing that probably won't be on the screens at Walmart are two movies that have had a lot of hiccups when it comes to their release dates. So let's talk about Christopher Nolan's Tenet as well as Disney's Mulan. Now, Tenet literally had two different release dates just last month. Both of those obviously did not work out. And Disney's Mulan has been postponed since March. They've had 3 different release dates. And so they just recently changed the release dates they most recently had. And so Nolan's Tenet is now scheduled to hit theaters on August 12th. Spoiler alert, it's not going to. And then Mulan is slated to hit the big screen on August 21st. Also, another spoiler alert, it won't. All right, so Toe, what do you think?
So these movies are very obviously they're very big different movies, but from a business standpoint, these are also very big, very different movies because from what I understand, Christopher Nolan they said around 5 years to write the screenplay for this movie, and he is vested in this movie. This is, if you guys remember Christopher Nolan, he's such a specific type of director, and he has such a clear vision that his movies, when they're released, people just run to see them. So a lot of people were saying that he would not sacrifice this movie. He would not allow this movie to go to VOD. So it looks like they keep pushing this movie back because not only did this movie was shot on 70 millimeter and in IMAX, so it would look ridiculous, I think, if you saw this movie at home. Now, the other thing, the difference here also is that Mulan is a Disney movie, and a big audience for this movie was going to be China. This was definitely Disney looking at his big bucks over at China, and with the whole coronavirus, the theaters are closed over there as well. So they were saying that maybe Disney would now actually consider putting this on Disney Plus, being that it's so starved for content. So which one do you think, Kevin, will actually come out first, and do you think that either of these movies will land on VOD?
Okay, if you're right, well, if anything ends up on VOD, it's going to be Mulan. I feel like release Mulan on VOD, and then like 2 months or a month later, have it be on Disney Plus, or have it go straight to Disney Plus. Because again, people like you who have kids, your little girl probably has watched Frozen and Frozen 2 like, I don't know, conservatively 18,000 times. But for those of us who can't watch Frozen that many times, there's not a lot going on over there on Disney Plus. And so if things come out in dribs and drabs, I mean, I think the last big release they had over on Disney Plus was Maleficent 2, which nobody went to see in theaters, and that was pre-coronavirus. So not a lot happening. So I feel like, put Mulan on Disney Plus to keep me there for an extra month. Eke another $6 or $7 out of me and move on with your life, because it's going to be dropped by like a hot rock by me. Because again, all the shows that were promised to us that were going to be coming, all those Marvel shows, all those shows are way down the line because nothing's in production now. Even the things that try to go back into production, like soap operas, try to go back into production, like here in California, and they went into production for like a couple of days. Then a bunch of people were tested positive, and they're like, we're closed again. So it's going to be a long time before we get any of those promised Disney Plus shows, before they can even like Mandalorian season 2. I'm sure maybe someone's who's socially distancing, they're writing all those scripts, but there's no casting happening. There's nothing's happening on that. And even when let's say that we're completely opened up, I don't even know when. I've heard a lot of people talk about January, because we're supposed to have what's considered a second wave of coronavirus. It's supposed to hit in the fall. this is still the first wave. We have more coronavirus cases like in places like Texas than all of Europe right now. That's how crazy things have gotten so quick. For those people that thought like, oh, it doesn't, remember like on was it Memorial Day or Labor Day? What was the one? I was getting mixed up.
It's all a blur, Kevin.
But anyway, but remember how we saw a video of people like basically like in a pool like sardines grinding on each other. Like, we don't care about no corona. So anyway, yeah, we're paying the price right now for that. And so when are these shows going to when are these shows going to be shot? When are these movies going to get shot? When are movie theaters going to open up? So I think I thought it was a pipe dream when Christopher Nolan announced it was going to be coming out in July. I thought that was ludicrous. And I think it's ludicrous that he thinks that it's going to be cool in August. I don't know what the hell they're thinking.
They're thinking about their pockets, Kevin.
No, I know why, but it's not realistic. I think and let's even say that he gets his wish. Let's say that this actually goes on the big screen in August. How many people after we had one opening and now already things like here in California, we were on lockdown first and then we had things open up, which I felt was too fast. And it turns out, yeah, I was right, because now it was just ordered that all these different counties here in California where things are now re-shut down. The like restaurants and everything, movie theaters that were shut. Even they had the social distancing. We talked about that on a past episode about how, you're going to have so many seats between people and all this kind of stuff about opening movie theaters. And then there was a whole controversy of like, will people wear masks or not wear masks in AMC theaters? Just like, yeah, you're not wearing nothing because all the theaters are closed. So the idea that, let's say Christopher Nolan gets his wish and in August, we stupidly try to reopen up stuff again in the middle of a friggin' pandemic. How many people are going to be stupid enough? That's another thing. It would be different if it was like, if we're talking about like, teenage pajama party stabbing part 6, where a lot of kids would go to see it. Christopher Nolan does thought-filled Oscar movies. How many thought-filled Oscar people are going to go out during a pandemic to go see this movie and risk their life? I think not a lot. So again, if you're appealing to like the pajama party pillow-fight murders, then I think that maybe there are kids that'll go out there like, I don't care if I kill my grandmother. I never liked her anyway. $5 for my birthday? Screw you, grandma. So yeah, they'll probably go out because those are the same people we saw grunting on each other all over social media. They don't care. But Christopher Nolan's fans do absolutely care. So I think Christopher Nolan, you need to basically put this movie on ice until 2021 or make peace with the fact that I'm going to be watching it on my iPhone. Those are your options.
Wow. Kevin, I think that's a perfect title for something you see on Shudder, by the way. I was thinking, is that on Shudder?
Probably will be. So, let's talk about something else that's pretty controversial that might have an effect on box office. So, this week, singer August Alsina spoke out about his relationship with Jada Pinkett Smith. The R&B singer previously denied having an affair with Jada after his 2019 track Nunez, as in None of Your Business, came out. It featured lyrics like, and these are very covert, they're very complicated, so try to pay attention because it might just move by you what he's talking about. So, you got me feeling like this was an act. You're just an actress putting on a show because you don't want the world to know. So I wonder what he was referencing. It's really veiled tone. I'm not sure what he was getting at. Very mysterious. So anyway. Oh, he did an interview with Complex. This is where this is from. He goes, I actually sat down with Will and had a conversation. Due to the transformation of their marriage to life partnership that they've spoken on, and again, I need to hear them speak more. I need to find where are the clips of them talking about the fact that they transformed from being married to being partners. Claims they spoke about this several times. I don't know if he means privately, publicly. Where does he mean they spoke about it several times? Anyway, he goes, not involving romanticism, implying Jada and her husband Will have an open marriage. Quote, he gave me his blessing. I totally gave myself to the relationship for years of my life. And I truly and really, really deeply loved and have a ton of love for her, referring to Jada. Ask her why he's open. When he was asked why he was opening up about it now, he said, "What I'm not okay with is my character being in question. I'm not a troublemaker." I think the publicist for Will Smith would disagree. "I'm not a troublemaker. I don't like drama." Again, when you don't like drama, don't get involved with an international superstar's wife. And if you don't like drama, but that's just me. Okay, leaving the relationship, he said, was the hardest thing I ever had to experience in this lifetime. However, Alcina added, "I can die right now and be okay knowing that I fully gave myself to somebody. Some people never get that in this lifetime." So reps for Jada Pinkett Smith, shockingly, have issued a statement. They claim that there was absolutely no sexual relationship between Jada and this guy. And also, Will Smith's representatives, they approached them and they had zero comment. So there have been rumors for years about their marriage. And about their marriage being open, and questions about, their relationship and how it works. And my question to you is, do you think that if their marriage really is open, that the reason why they're, still trying to portray that they have a regular quote unquote marriage or nuclear family, that this is all about the fact that they think that this would affect box office. This would affect the box office viability of Will Smith. I mean, he is one of the biggest movie stars, even though he's had a few bombs. He's still one of the highest paid movie actors, and he brings in more money. I mean, look at how the huge success of Bad Boys 3. So do you think that less people would go to see these movies in 2020 after all we've been through if we knew for sure that Will and Jada had a different kind of marriage?
I think this is definitely has to be. I think it's threefold. Looking from the outside, one can only imagine that the viability of him as a star would be hurt, because Will Smith also does, besides doing these action great movies, he's also a very family friendly star. So this would definitely open him up to a different type of scene. And I also think that maybe they do it for their kids. They also have, Will Smith has 3 children, and he has 2 with Jada. And maybe this is something that they don't want their children to know, or, to expose them to. I also got to ask myself, why now? Like, why did this guy, he said that they've been doing on for years. He's also, I saw he was on the Breakfast Club. He has a new album coming out. Is this like a marketing / hey, I need to bare my heart? This all works out at the same time? Because where did this come from? And obviously, I was also thinking about Will Smith's viability as an actor. I was thinking it's definitely a different arena, and it's a different medium altogether. But for a YouTuber, iDubbbz, who's a very big YouTuber, he's lately caught a lot of controversy and flack because iDubbbz's girlfriend ended up opening up an OnlyFans account. So a lot of his fans turned on iDubbbz and said, "Wow, your girl has an OnlyFans," and he got so much controversy. He lost subscribers, and it's something that took me by surprise. I'm like, why would people care what iDubbbz's girlfriend does? But then I started thinking, this is kind of similar to the Will Smith situation. Let's say this does turn out to be, these allegations are true, then honestly people are going to look at Will Smith different. I'm wondering if the same people who would unsubscribe to a person like iDubbbz because his girlfriend has the freedom to do an OnlyFans, would they also stop watching Will Smith movies because he gave his wife his, let's say, quote unquote, his blessing to move forward? Do you think that that's what it is?
Well, I definitely think that part of the issue is the way they've kind of packaged themselves, especially Jada. I mean, with her Red Table Talk, she's always publicly talking about her relationship with her husband, and their marriage is part of how they're identified. I mean, a lot of celebrities that have relationships, they don't go on the red carpet together. They try to basically keep their identities as public figures separated from each other, whereas they have not. They have been cool with kind of coming out there as a unit, and a lot of people have aspired to have a relationship like theirs. And then when I was reading through a lot of the comments once this whole thing broke on social media, people were saying like, "Oh, so when my girlfriend was asking for that Will and Jada love, now I understand what she was really asking for." And so So I absolutely think that the whole idea that August wants to clear his name, I don't know now I think it isn't happening. I don't know who the people that were basically calling his character into question, other than me now. I don't know where people were questioning his character because he said he wants to set the record straight, kind of thing. When was the record set crookedly? Who was out there talking about when it was supposed to be quiet? I mean, the funny thing is they went together to like an award show or whatever, so it was like they were seen out a lot. And Jaden actually brought this guy into the family, so to speak. So it's all kind of mixed up. I don't know what's going on with this whole thing. Honestly, I've always believed they were open, and I won't go into why and what also might be happening on Will Smith's side. I'm not gonna go into it. Can you people hear me winking? Can you hear it? I'm winking next to the mic. Can you hear the winking? I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything about what's going on there. Anyway, so, but I actually think at this point in 2020, after all, the world has been on fire for so long, after all we've been through, I just can't believe he is such a known commodity. He has such a deep fan base. I can't imagine that it would be that many people that would refuse to see a Will Smith movie if they found out that he and Jada were open. I mean, the rumors have been just so out there for so long. Even now kind of having it confirmed via this guy, and two things can be true at the same time. People said, well, this seems awfully opportunistic that he's making this revelation while he has he's trying to promote his new album. But two things can be true at the same time. He could be promoting his album, and he can be using the truth and the fact that he was having a relationship with Jada Pinkett Smith and with Will Smith's blessing to sell more downloads of his music. So I think those things can absolutely be both can be true.
Yes, I'm thinking possibly both could be true, but it's also one got to wonder, like, but where, like you said, I feel like there was no into this. He's like that he wanted to set the record straight, Kevin. I never heard anybody say it wasn't
crooked. It wasn't crooked. No. Again, apparently he's best friends with Terry Crews because he's speaking on things that no one was talking about. No one. If he had listened to Last Weekly and we were saying how you know who you can't trust is August Alai. What's his last name again? Alzina, because he claims that he's on a relationship with Jada Pinkett Smith, but we all know he is. And then he goes, you know what? I gotta set the record straight. Kevin came for me, and so I'm setting the record straight. And they're like, okay, but nobody said anything. Well, I mean, people did talk when they went again. You want people to talk. When you go to a movie premiere, when you were a significantly younger guy, and you go to a movie premiere with a woman on her arm, Jada was like, she was dressed to the nines. She had the girls on full display, and she was out with somebody who wasn't her husband. So I feel like you're trying to get chins to wag. You're trying to get people to talk when you do something like that. That's a very provocative thing. Because if you're supposed to be on the DL, the down low, you don't go to a movie premiere with somebody. I don't know if they try to have like, it was supposed to be like, what is that? Like a mental jujitsu. Like they're thinking like, well, there's rumors that we're having an affair, but if we go out publicly, people would think, well, they'll never go out publicly if they're having an affair. So you're trying to basically like do a reverse psychology thing on us. Well, we didn't fall for it. We believe you're having an affair back then, and we believe it now. So take that.
You know what's crazy, Kevin? I remember when Angelina Jolie took her brother to a premiere, and there was all this stuff talking about Angelina Jolie's with her brother now, just because she took her to a premiere. Like this is the opposite thing.
No. But didn't they also kiss? Remember,
okay, that was it too, but I'm just saying.
Like, just because she took her brother to a premiere and made out with him, that's why people had issues. So you're leaving a huge thing out. Again, stop hanging out with Terry Crews. He's confusing all of you people.
You're right. That's a good point. I forgot that part.
Yes, that does change things a little bit. All right. So speaking of things that are crazy that make no sense. Let's talk about the fact that there was big news for Christmas 2021. Apparently, Jason Momoa has been cast as Frosty the Snowman, or the voice of Frosty the Snowman, in a live-action remake of the holiday classic. So it left me and most other people that have access to social media like, huh? What? Why? Because every movie that Jason Momoa has ever been in, any appearance he's had in anything, has been shirtless. And you know why? Because of his incredible voice. So, so Tone, are you excited about the live action Frosty the Snowman? And are you excited to hear the voice of Jason Momoa coming out of a pudgy magical snowman?
So Kevin, I told this to my wife. I was like, babe, you know, Jason Momoa is gonna be in a Frosty the Snowman movie, and she just gave me like this most puzzled look, and I'm like, Aquaman is gonna be in Frosty the Snowman, and she just kept giving this awkward look because it's like the two things do not go in one brain, Kevin. And then I looked it up. It's gonna be a live action / CGI hybrid movie, so it's gonna be kind of like Sonic the Hedgehog. So you're gonna have like real live action people, and they're gonna then superimpose like this animated, I guess, Frosty.
Basically, you know what I was thinking? There was a movie called, the only way this makes sense, there was a movie quite a few years ago starring, who was the original movie Batman? The original Batman? Michael Keaton. Okay, so Michael Keaton was a movie called Jack Frost, where like he dies and his spirit ends up in a snowman. So it was so ludicrous. But anyway, so he's voicing a snowman that can magically walk around and do stuff and get into wacky trouble. So it would only make sense to me if Jason Momoa played a dad who's in a coma, and then his spirit basically goes into a snowman and has one last delightful Christmas with his kids as a snowman. So when they show him in the hospital flatlining, they're like, clear. They open up his hospital gown, and we can see those abs before he dies. And like, okay, now it makes sense that they had the real Jason Momoa in this. So we got to see those abs right before he died. So I'd be like, that scene's worth $13. Okay, that makes sense. But if he's just the voice of the CGI snowman, no. Why?
Like, of all the voices, Jason Momoa? Oh, man.
You know what? You can get Tone or I for like 10 cents on the dollar. We would happily do it. In fact, I might actually pay you to let me do it. I don't know. So why are you? The only other way it makes sense is, I guess, if you have the voice of Jason Momoa, you can send him on all the talk shows, talk about the fact that he's doing the voice of Frosty the Snowman. And while he's on all those other shows, and when he's hosting Saturday Night Live at Christmas time, then he'll take his shirt off and be like, okay, so I guess it all makes sense.
I'm thinking in my head like, what? You know what, Kevin? I'm really curious to see the trailer. So it's a great marketing idea.
Yeah, oh yeah. So basically, it's like look forward to him hosting Saturday Night Live, so he'll take his shirt off. Because I don't know if you saw when he hosted Saturday Night Live, he had his shirt off in like every sketch. They're like, we know what you're here for. There's no other reason for you to be here without what you do not wear clothes. Do not wear clothes. All right. Speaking of things that need to come off, let's talk about Mad Men and blackface. So there's an episode of Mad Men that features a character donning blackface, and the show is about to come onto a streaming platform. And so I don't know if you've heard, but a lot of other shows have had issues with blackface in their past. So shows like 30 Rock, Community, Scrubs, even the Golden Girls, what they've done is they've just pulled those episodes, and they will no longer be in rotation on streaming services, nor will they be available in any like Blu-ray box sets. So they're being pulled. But AMC is taking a different approach with what they're actually doing is they're releasing it, but they're going to have like a disclaimer at the beginning. And so one of the characters that has blackface, he will actually be reading like a statement that you'll see before the episode. And it basically says one of the characters in the show, I'm going to try to find the actual statement because I think I have it. Let's see, in its reliance on historical accuracy, the series producers are committed to exposing the injustices and inequities within our society that continue to this day, so we can examine even the most painful parts of our history in order to reflect on who we are today and who we want to become. So there's going to be that statement read at the beginning of the episode. And so how do you feel? So do you feel like they should be pulling these episodes, or should they put them into some kind of historical context and then let people see the episodes and judge them for themselves?
I feel like this is the second round, Kevin. We talked right here on Last Weekly about the whole Gone with the Wind, removing Gone with the Wind and putting it somewhere with some context. It's like we've arrived at a point now where symbolism is replacing action. Like, why are these shows going back? Some of these shows go back even like 10 years. Why are you going back and removing these episodes? Why don't you do actually something of change? Like the reason that we had Cyborg complaining, I'm sorry, not Cyborg, our Falcon complaining. I got my black superhero mixed up. The reason we had Anthony Mackie complaining is because we don't have enough people of color behind the scenes. Instead of doing something symbolic, instead of removing these episodes, why don't you hire more black producers, hire black director, hire more black voices and voices of color who would never allow these things to happen in the first place? Like, it just seems like asinine to me. Like, symbolism.
But you know what, Tone, that's just going to lead to black entertainment supremacy, though. So we don't want that to happen. Come on. I'm really worried about that.
It'll be Black Lives Matter, Kevin, if this happens.
Like, it'll be black producers better. We don't want it to morph into that, do we?
It's like a symptom. Like, they're just addressing the symptom. They're looking at an old cold. Like, why don't you actually address the actual sickness, which is there's not enough people of color in positions of power and creative positions, so these choices are never made in the first place. That's what they need to do. I was reading that the mayor here in New York City, Mayor Bloomberg, kinder times, Mayor de Blasio is actually planning Black Lives Matter downtown, right in front of the Trump Tower. Like, it's great that he's doing this, but again, symbolism instead of action. Like, he didn't remove he's backpedaling on removing police officers from underneath the NYPD. So instead of action, Kevin, all these TV shows and these companies and these government agencies are giving us symbolism. Do some action. What do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely agree that it feels like a Band-Aid, but you're right. If people were behind the scenes of color making decisions, what's shocking to me is like a show like Scrubs as well as 30 Rock, they had multiple episodes that feature blackface. Multiple. I mean, that is stunning to me that it happened multiple times. They had to pull several episodes of like 3 episodes of 3 or 4 episodes of 30 Rock and a couple of episodes of Scrubs. And so the one that's the most ridiculous to me is the Golden Girls. It wasn't even really blackface. It was a blackface joke because basically what's happening is Rose and Blanche are like doing some kind of spa treatment and they have mud on their face. And so somebody walks in while they're doing these beauty treatments, and so Rose says something like, "Oh, we're not black. We're doing a spa treatment," or something like that. And so it's like that does not need to be pulled. That seems ridiculous that they're pulling that one. I do think if you are going to keep it in, I do think it is right to put. I think they're handling it the right way with when it comes to Gone with the Wind. They actually had a film historian talking about the history of slavery and how it's being depicted in Gone with the Wind, and to have someone talk about the historical context of what was happening in the world in 1963 when the episode of Mad Men takes place, that feels right. And it would be kind of painting over the past. I'm a person, and there are a lot of people who have different thoughts about this, and this is a side thing. I still want to ask what your thoughts are. There's a thing called colorblind casting, and I'm cool with colorblind casting when it comes to modern productions and modern things that take place in a modern or future time. But what I have an issue with is when you do like a period thing, like when you do a remake of, say, Annie that takes place in the 30s, and then you have a world with where racism doesn't seem to be an issue. I feel like it basically whitewashes the past as if these things weren't really issues. And so I remember watching a thing on Amazon Prime Video. They have a retelling of a classic story of Vanity Fair, and a character goes to this all-girls school, and in the all-girls school that takes place in like the 17 or 1600s or something like that. It's like there's girls of every nationality going to this school. I'm like, in reality, that would never have happened. It would never have happened. And so I feel like when kids or people that don't really have much knowledge of history see this, it gives them a false idea of what the past was really like. And so putting something like Gone with the Wind in a vault and never letting anybody see it, we need to see, how it was depicted, and that wasn't the reality. But we need to put it into context, and so I like having somebody explain this is the context of A, what really was happening during slavery, and B, what white people in 1930s, how this depicts how white people in the 1930s viewed slavery. So their view of slavery and the reality are very, 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 very different things.
Completely different, correct? Yeah.
All right. So just before we move on, do you have any thoughts on colorblind casting when it comes to things in the past? How do you feel? Because some people feel like it's okay and that it's not fair to actors of color because of past racism to do a production that, that takes place in, say, the 1700s and not have actors of color being able to play main characters or whatever.
Well, I think that would be like a show in itself, Kevin, because I feel like there's so many facets to this thing. What you just said is an excellent point why not to do it. This week we saw that not one but two actresses came forward and said they were white actresses say they will no longer be voicing biracial or black characters. So I think representation is key, especially now in 2020, because there's no reason that someone of color can't play someone of color. But then you'll have people like Scarlett Johansson who argue, well, I should be able to play anybody I want.
Oh my God, why can't she play Harriet Tubman? Why?
I don't know what she was, and she comes out and says this, like. But anyway, but I think it's a very nuanced conversation, because I believe anybody should be able to act in any way. But should someone who's able play someone who has physical challenges? Should someone who's black play a white character? Like, these are all questions I don't think that we could ever really get to an answer. But I think it's definitely something we should think about. But just the point alone that you brought up, I don't think we should whitewash the past. I do agree with that.
Well, I do want to say something. You coming on the whole thing in animation, us finding out, the public finding out in the bigger numbers that so many of these characters of color are voiced by white actors. The one that shocked me was the actor who plays Cleveland, who's played the character Cleveland for decades on Family Guy, but also on the spinoff show, The Cleveland Show, was actually voiced by a white actor. So he's now stepping down, and it will now be voiced by a black actor in future episodes.
Wait a second. Cleveland was voiced by a white actor? I didn't know that.
Yes, absolutely.
Even in the show that was about him, like the actual show.
Yes, and literally this week, this is now changing. This week, now the actor who's what I love is because also there was an actress, I forget what her name is, who voiced an Asian character in BoJack Horseman, or what's the name of that show? BoJack Horseman. So she's stepping down, and so they're going to hire an Asian actress to play the voice of that character. I take that back. I think that show's out of production anyway, so it doesn't even matter. But the crazy thing to me is all these people that are stepping down now, like the guy from the Cleveland Show, is like, are you going to donate all those residuals to like Black Lives Matter or the United Negro College Fund or something? Because it's just like, seriously? How was that thought to be okay?
Like, exactly. We need more people of color in positions of power and creative. Because how did anybody think that was okay? That's shocking, Kevin. You just blew my mind.
And if Terry Crews hasn't already stopped listening to the show before you start tweeting about this and saying that, like, white voices matter, what I want to say is I would be okay with colorblind casting when it came to animation if it was truly colorblind, because it's not the reverse. If we had tons of black actors playing the voices of white characters and characters of all races, then I'd have zero problems with the fact that there would be some characters of color that were played by white people. So that isn't the case. It seems to only go one way. It seems to be characters of color being played by white actors and actresses, and black voice talent basically talking on podcasts like this. So that's pretty much it. So anyway, so take that, Terry Crews. Go ahead and unsubscribe if you want to, but you love us. All right, Tone. So let's talk about two tech things that are going on that are looking to basically slide not into your DMs, but deep into your wallet.
Greed.
Tell us about it, Tone.
Let's talk about the fact that YouTube TV will be increasing their prices yet again. Yes, you heard right. YouTube TV, which launched on February 28, 2017. The service initially was $35. Then it increased to $40. Then it increased to $50. And now they've announced that they will be increasing $15 more to a whopping $65. They're saying that they hate to do this, but they have to do it because of the price of programming. So, Kevin, do you think that it's reasonable for YouTube TV to increase their price to $65? No.
No. 1,000 times no. This could not be a worse time. We're in a recession right now. There are more people out of work now. The last time there were this many people out of work, we're talking about during what's it called? In the 40s, I forget what
recession.
Oh my God. The Great Depression. The Great Depression. This is like Great Depression levels of people out of work. And the fact is, now that the few things that had reopened have now had to close again, there are going to be even more people out of work. So during that time, to say that we're going to raise the price, if anything. What they should have done is made an announcement saying how that, you know what, the price of content has gone up even more. But because of the difficult times that Americans are going through right now, we're going to eat the cost increase for the rest of 2020. And we're saddened that we're going to have to raise the price in 2021. But YouTube, for as long as we can, we're going to have your back. We'd be like, wow, oh my God, that is amazing. I'm going to drop Dish Network and get YouTube just because they're looking out for the people. No, they're like, oh my God, you don't have a job, or you're working like less hours. Well, let me take a little bit more of your money. I can't friggin' believe the timing of this. How can they basically, I don't know how they can even hold their heads up. You know, thank God they're wearing a mask so they can look at themselves in the mirror, because they're wearing a mask, so they don't have to see all their whole face, because it is all kinds of wrong. What do you think?
I'm completely on the same boat with you, Kevin. I don't know where you get the gall. Like, where do you go for balls to do this? Also, a lot of people on social media were like, wait a second, YouTube TV, you're increasing your price to $65. The reason that I and a lot of other people cut the cord, I cut the cord really early. I was an early adopter, but a lot of people cut the cord since, and it's because the price of cable TV has gotten so ridiculous. Like paying your subscriber to provide you the internet and cable I was paying over $150. And now if you have to pay $60 for YouTube TV, and you also, for example, in my case, I pay $50 for my internet service provider. So basically, I'm almost at the same price before I cut the cord. So why did I cut the cord, Kevin? It's preposterous. I really think it's ridiculous. And I was telling my wife, at this point, in the next 5 years, we're going to be right back to $100+ just to get internet. So they're finding ways, Kevin, to get back in our pocket, and it's disgust, though.
But I actually think that what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to just be driven to these have nothing but streaming services, because I actually think it's going to come to a point where someone like me would I might have, say, Netflix and HBO Max and maybe something else like Hulu or Disney Plus, and that be it, because you can get those services and be like around $50 for all those services, and have a digital antenna so you can get like your local news, your local networks, and that's just gonna have to be it. And all the shows that are on other platforms like, say, TBS or TNT or Bravo, you're going to have to wait for them to basically trickle out and end up on other platforms that you may have access to. But having cable or satellite or like YouTube TV to try and get something like Bravo or whatever, these services are going to have to go over the top, because I think it's too expensive to have all these different services reaching out, all asking for more money at the same time. I mean, I was stunned by how well Disney Plus priced themselves, because they made everybody else look really bad.
Yep. And they also did it early, Kevin. They made it so they offered a price, and I bought into the 2-year deal. And yeah, they're laughing because they don't have almost no new content, so they got me good.
Oh yeah.
By the time the 2 years they expire, that's when we're finally gonna get Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I'll be like, damn, Disney, you did me good. But
okay,
yeah.
But give me an idea. Okay, now when you buy a new Apple product, you actually get a free year of Apple TV. And so I got a new iPad recently. And so they keep giving me these alerts going like, sign up, sign up, sign up, sign up. I'm like, I'm not signing up now, because you don't have any new content that's coming down the pike. So I actually put it in my calendar the last day, I think I have something like 4 months or 5 months or something like that I can sign up and still get that year free. I have it literally the last day that I'm eligible to sign up will be the day I sign up. So hopefully I will actually get some new content.
It's ridiculous, Kevin. And it's like, I'm glad you brought up Apple because that's our last story of the day. There's been rumors all this week that Apple's iPhone 12, which is supposed to come out in September if they follow the release schedule, which they said before.
I hope Christopher Nolan isn't helping them set that schedule.
They're going to have to push it back. But the rumor was that's making all these Apple fanboys upset and making the Google people laugh is that the new iPhone 12 will not come with headphones and it will not bring up a charging cable. It will not bring a power brick. It's just going to be the iPhone in a box, Kevin.
Oh my God. Again, they must be working behind the scenes with YouTube just to screw us even harder. I can't believe the unmitigated gall. So I guess now is this supposed to not have any kind of connector to charge it? Is there going to be a completely closed iPhone that you're only going to be able to charge by placing it on a charger, not plugging anything into it?
Not this one. The rumors are that the next iPhone after this, which is going to be the iPhone 12, will be a completely sealed iPhone with no ports at all, and it will be completely wireless charging. But the one we're talking about now in September, Kevin, has a lightning plug, so you're just going to have to buy a power brick.
What? Oh my God. This is the first I'm hearing of this. I had heard that it was supposed to not come with a brick, but I thought, why are people upset? Okay, now it all makes sense that people are mad. Yes, because that is jaw-dropping. Oh my God, as if they haven't screwed enough money out of us. They're literally taking us by the ankles, shaking us upside down, trying to get more coins out of our pockets. I can't. The unmitigated gall. And first of all, those earphones were always so crappy. What pisses me off is this. Why not offer the option like, okay, you can get an iPhone with headphones, or if you want to save $5, get it without headphones. No, they're like, no, you're not saving anything. We're going to give it to you and not give you any crappy headphones.
Those headphones, honestly, Kevin, on the store are $29.99.
Oh, well, no, I knew they wouldn't give us the what they sell them for. They're not going to give you $29 off. I thought they would even deign to give us $5 off for keeping their the crappy headphones. But that is, I am absolutely stunned. You know what? I am still... I normally I'd be ashamed, but now I'm proud. I'm proud to say I am rocking an iPhone 6S. And I will not let it go.
Wait till iOS 15 comes for you, Kevin.
I am holding on to my old ass iPhone for dear life. I can't believe it. That is so chintzy. God.
Yeah, YouTube TV and Apple TV and Apple. Shame on you.
Boo.
Take several seats, like Tachi says.
Oh my God. Can you imagine if Tachi was here? She'd be furious. You know what? Somewhere Tachi is somewhere, and she's like, "Oh, why am I so mad at?" I'm like, "Oh, this is why, Tachi. When you were experiencing us talking about this, you could feel it."
It's like when Mark Ward gets upset watching The View. What's up, Mark?
Oh my God.
Shout out.
All right. Do we have time for me to ask you what your favorite or least favorite thing of the week was?
Well, my favorite thing of the week, Kevin, is that we just passed the halfway point of this 2020 year. And you know what? I'm just very grateful. And I was looking back and I'm saying, wow, we made it through half this year. This year has been such a crazy year. And I only can imagine what the rest of 2020 has in store. But I'm just really happy that everybody around me is healthy. Everybody is in a good state of mind, and everything that's happened. You know what? I'm just counting my blessings. So that's basically what I'm really happy about this week. What about you?
Well, one of my favorite things is the fact that everybody in your family is doing great. So I'm happy about that. What I'm not happy about is the fact that students in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, were reportedly throwing COVID parties.
Oh no!
With their friends, and here's what the idea was: they would actually invite somebody who has tested positive for COVID to this party, and they would all interact with the person trying to catch COVID. They all put money into a pot, and whoever gets COVID first gets all the money in the pot. and kills their grandmother and their little brother with asthma. I could not friggin' believe. I mean, the height of irresponsibility and inconsiderateness. I've seen so many videos of middle-aged people ranting about wearing a face mask and how it's taken away their freedom and all this kind of stuff. Those people are horrible. But I have to say, these kids, these college kids are even more horrible, intentionally trying to get this disease that's already killed over 130,000 Americans, all to try and win a pot of money. And it's like college kid money. Literally, the pot, if you win the pot of money, you can get 10 things of top ramen. So, I mean, really?
There's a saying, Kevin, that I see on the internet. It says, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And that's a stupid game.
Oh my God. So anyway, so this is a really ugly thing to say, but these are ugly times. I hope every one of these bastards, not only do they get coronavirus, which is their dream to try and win that pot, but I hope they have complications, lifelong complications. And when they're using an oxygen mask when they're 40, they'll be like, yeah, I'm sorry, Kevin, from last weekly. Yeah, you're still paying the price. Wow. All right. Now, we can't recap every horrible story.
Wow, Kevin.
But we do want to talk about the things you like us to. So, if there's something horrible happening in the world that you want to hear us talk about, you can send us a voice message on the Anchor app, and we might actually even play it on the show. And you can message us on Twitter or Instagram. We are at Last Weekly on both, and we'd absolutely appreciate a follow. All right, Tone, how can people listen to our show other than how they're listening right now?
Well, they can definitely listen to us on Apple Podcasts. They can listen on Stitcher, on Spotify. You can listen and watch us on our YouTube channel. And make sure to check us out at WJMSradio.com every Sunday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern and 1:30 p.m. Pacific, and every Friday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern and 7:30 p.m. Pacific. And to make things even easier for you guys, if you're just curious where you can listen to us, just go to lastweekly.com for all our links where you can listen to us. And really quickly, our theme song is a song Lush by the artist Tyler.
All right. I want to thank you so much for listening to our show and supporting us on social media. We appreciate it so very much. And don't forget to listen to the next episode of Last Weekly, because the week doesn't end. Say it with me, Tone. Until we say so. There's only two of us. There's only two of us.
I started late, man.
Oh, my God.
Until we say so.
Goodbye.
Happy post-4th. Goodbye.
Bye, Terry Crews.